Hello and welcome to Botify Sessions. My name is Alberto Pinto. I will be interviewing AI and engineering people around the world to give you real insight on what actually goes down behind the scenes. And today we've got a great guest on the show, Shuzhi Huang, the CEO of Amo AI. Susie, brief introduction for the public. Give us a little insight on who you are and what you're doing, and then we can sort of crack on.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Pinto, and really good to reconnect with you. And thanks for having me here. So my name is Shuzhi, and you can also call me David if you find it hard to pronounce. And so I'm currently running a startup which we call Amo AI, and we have kind of a bigger goal, which is that instead of having one AI to solve everyone's problem, but providing a way that people can use AI to, and one group of people can solve the other groups of people's problem. But we are heavily focusing on product, which is more like an AI assistant that you can customize, and it's mainly focusing for non-technical people rather than technical people to achieve 10x as like a freelancers and small companies or like a busy professionals to achieve better performance and with less time. So prior to that, I spent around 10 years in Google. And so I started from an individual engineer and at the entry level, then growing to manage and as a tech lead, and then growing to manage teams and then manage multiple teams and manage manager of managers. And also went through, I joined around the time that when it's kind of the mobile first era. And so kind of gone through very fast team expansion and product growth, etc. So yeah, and had a couple of different startup experiences back in uni and also during part time in Google, and very happy to be like fully back to startup and went all in as never before. So it's a very exciting time, and very happy to share what potentially might be helpful to the audience.
Excellent. No, excellent. Look, this is brilliant, and I'm so thankful that you made the time to jump on because I know how busy you are. You've got loads going on, and look, I'm really looking forward to dive into Time AI as well. What you do and where we can find you guys. So yeah, let's I guess let's get cracking. Look, you have had a very interesting career, and there's so much I want to ask you. I'm going to start from the very beginning. You worked as and by the way, correct me if I'm wrong. You worked as a software developer as an intern for around probably just under a year, and one of the positions that you had before joining Google.
I see. So no, actually, all my full time career has been in Google. So I joined Google full time right after my graduation. But I did a couple of different internships, and some of them are full time internships back in uni. So
So those were the internships. Okay. So this makes it even more interesting.
right.
So how did you get to go from uni straight to Google? I mean, there's several people out there that just to get into tech nowadays is super hard. Whether you're an AI engineer, software engineer, wherever you fall into the engineering and AI sort of spectrum. So how do you do this?
See, to be honest, I would say it's I would say it's lucky. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I had some Android experience before, and I was really interested in joining, like working on Android framework, and also happened to have some experience. To be really honest, I think it's way much harder nowadays because of all the changes and because of like everything. And even from my own experience running a company, I can say that the quality of candidates we are interviewing nowadays actually it's unimaginable. I can't even imagine how I would be able to compete with them if it was back to my ages. So I think it's just harder nowadays, or at least from my personal like experience in general.
So do you think so, is there a lot more talent in the market available? Is that what I mean? That so the competition is like,
That's how I feel like.
yeah.
Yeah. And the technology matures over time as well. And people know kind of there are more CS graduated students nowadays, and there are kind of heavier competitions. And now there's AI kind of being able to do lots of like a coding works and etc. So I would say it's just kind of it's getting intense.
Yeah, yeah. Fair, fair. Look, there's a few things here because one very important point is you didn't just work for Google, you worked for Google for 10 years. Okay. I mean, just to get to work at Google is hard enough. To stay there for a decade is incredible. Now, my question is, what did you do different early that allowed you to convert and grow internally? Joined as a single contributor in order to become an engineering manager for a long time.
Right, right. I think fundamentally, probably there are two things that I would recommend, and even if for kind of if I would kind of speak to my younger myself, and I think two things that I will kind of encourage to double down. And one thing is that to go really, really solid on one thing, and whatever that one thing is, ideally, I think you should be some kind of expertise in some areas, or whatever you are doing, try to be the best of it. So for me, probably kind of programming, and I like it, and especially for the software engineering part. And it could be some other things as well, but I would say just really, really good at one thing, and do your best for it. The second thing I think is to get to experience all the different things. So don't restrict yourself too much, especially even in earlier days. And I would say kind of in throughout the entire probably career, don't restrict yourself too much. But even for the earlier part, it's even more important. So try all different things. Try small startups and try helping others. You don't need to ask for return, and just kind of being able to embed yourself and contribute something. And you'll learn so much, and you'll build connections as well. And they might pay off later. Even if they don't pay off, it's an experience, and experience it itself has a compound effect.
Wow. Question. So, when you said be very good at one thing, it is an interesting take because trying to see how to frame this.
Mm,
Nowadays in the market,
yeah.
and this is my experience from, I mean, a headhunter in a niche area. What a lot of businesses want 5 positions in one.
Mm,
Oh, an example, you're looking for a machine learning engineer that is probably good at data engineering that could probably do of ops as well. So when you mention be very good at one thing, can you give me an example for someone that's out there is a software developer, but is also getting a little bit distracted with AI? Whoa, I need to get so. Can you give me an example, perhaps? Look, just hypothetically speaking, yeah.
right. So, first of all, just to clarify what I mean by being really good at one thing, what I don't mean is to kind of, to be honest, I think that one thing doesn't matter that much. It's more about kind of you challenge yourself to be really good at one thing, and that trains your the ability to learn, trains the ability to get better at yourself, and train your ability to kind of decompose an area and to think about to address a problem. So that meta cognition capability is to what I mean. And you only acquire those capabilities when you try to become the best in an area. Otherwise, you just become shallow in all the different things. So, so going back to your question here, and I would say it's very hard to get a kind of what would be a benchmark and by kind of being really good at one thing. And I think it's more kind of comparing with yourself and comparing with kind of the context and the visibility you have around. But probably a good proxy is that when you are learning something or trying kind of trying to do something, try really, really try to be the best of it, like a best in class or best in the company or whatever, but just be the best of it. And it could just be one thing and you don't have to be many, but pick one and really try to be the best of it.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get it, I get it. I can use a really silly example in football. David Beckham was excellent at set pieces. He was very, very good at that. So they'll always find a space in the team just for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I get
Yeah.
it.
I was thinking about football actually when I'm
Good stuff. Tell me this: what is a common myth about Google that simply isn't true?
ooh, common myth.
Stuff like, I mean, without a PhD, it's impossible to get in,
No,
or
no, no,
that,
definitely.
yes,
No.
that's how.
No, no. I would say probably kind of everyone is a genius. I think not so much people saying it nowadays. Um, but probably back in like 10 or 12 years ago, and it was probably kind of more emphasized that everyone is a genius to join Google. But that simply isn't true, to be honest. And I think like there are lots of great talented people, but to be honest, I think it's not something like more. They are just regular people. They are normal people, but just probably with a different attitude or curiosity or love or passion into something. So yeah. So I would say doesn't really have to be spatial or something like it's achievable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Going back to your career at Google, I would love to sort of understand from your perspective what separates an engineer who stays at L4 or 5 from those who go into management and leadership at Google.
I see. Probably would be strongly biased on my personal opinion. First of all, I want to clarify. So there are lots of excellent engineers who just choose to stay in L4, L5, and they are doing excellent in their current job, and maybe just to balance their work-life balance to take care of their family better. So I want to separate those parts. But for people that really want to go up, and then kind of my personal take here is there are three things that I will be constantly thinking about. The very first thing is kind of growth mindset. So you need to keep learning and keep improving, and also going back to my earlier point, don't restrict yourself. So try all the different things. And when we are doing something, try to do the best of it. The second, I would say, is collaboration. So don't just do things yourself and ask for support, ask for collaborating and find kind of win-win opportunities as well. So kind of work as a team. And this becomes more and more important as kind of when you are growing up, your scope increases more and more. And it's impossible for you just to handle it by yourself. You need to have the capability to work with others and to inspire others to achieve things. And I think the last one is, I would say, is problem solving, but kind of really focusing on the problem and bring impact. And there are two types of impact. One is the impact of the things that you are doing directly. So it's kind of a direct impact.
Yeah,
The second impact is thinking one layer deeper. So I call it kind of first derivative impact. So if we were to do this again, how can we make it easier in the future? So not just deliver these things, but make it easier to deliver similar things for others in the future. So if you kind of constantly doing these three things, then kind of expand your capability bigger, and also expand your network and your influence and your scope larger and larger as well. And then kind of progression to the next phase of your career is just a result of it.
this is some great gems. No, thank you. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That makes some lots and lots of sense. You know, for yourself, what changes overnight when you go from writing code to managing people who write code?
It's an interesting question. Actually, I don't feel like there's anything changing overnight. It's kind of like a small progression. So you become a manager because you are managing some things already. You become a tech lead because you are leading a project already. And it's very similar to kind of growing to the next level. So you are becoming L5, L6, L7 is because you are already doing L5, L6, L7. So it becomes just a result of it. Probably, I think the other angle you might want to ask is kind of what are the fundamental differences in terms of the mindset and between an independent contributor and like a manager managing people? So I would say there are two things. One is that the complexity of the system suddenly involves emotions. So when you are just managing machines, it could be complex, but you don't need to worry about too much about emotions. You could be just as rational as you could. So, but with people, they are kind of people have feelings. So you need to be kind of careful and think about their passion, their motivation, their personal situation, etc. So that empathy, and it's really important. So I would say what differentiates between an engineer versus a manager. I think the fundamental thing that I always just share with others is empathy. So you need to grow that. You need to have that empathy. Otherwise, you can't be a manager. And so that's kind of the first thing. And the second thing is really think about to help others to succeed, and you get the joy from seeing others succeed. You won't get that much joy seeing machines kind of achieving tasks, but you would kind of feel from deep in your heart that you kind of seeing people succeed. And if you find yourself kind of having these two traits and this resonate with you, chances are you can be a good manager.
Yeah. No, do you know what? This is brilliant because every day I speak to so many different people within the market, and even going back to what we spoke about earlier, what was the difference between staying at L5, L4, or becoming a manager? Look, there are some people that just want to be hands-on,
Yes.
and there are some people that have got the appetite
Yeah.
to be managers. And what you've just mentioned there is brilliant. So a big thing is being unselfish, right? Like getting some joy in seeing people succeed as well.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me this, what was your first real leadership failure that, yeah, that you came across?
That's an excellent question. It's probably, I think I probably will share this story. Let me see if I can. I probably just carve out the specific details of it.
Yeah.
So try to remain anonymous as much as possible. I would say it was in a process that when I need to manage someone out, and I think it was really a hard kind of conversation, and it was kind of like a really tedious, a long process out there. But sorry, let me think about it. Let me rephrase it.
Yeah, no problem. I could, we'll move on to that one and then catch up with this one again.
Sounds great. Sounds great. It's a hard
Yeah,
question.
yeah,
It's a good question.
yeah, no, all good, all great. In terms of sort of scaling organizational growth, I mean, even though Google has got huge teams
Hmm.
scale internally,
Hmm.
h- how do you go from a team of 20 to a team of 100? What sort of changes in terms of management, especially with the genius at Google? Oh, well, so yeah, how do you go from a team of, because obviously there's always growth at Google. So how do you go from a team of 20 to a team of 100? What changes?
Oh, so I would say kind of, and especially with the genius in Google, just make things easier. I
Okay.
would say
Yeah.
culture is very important. So you have kind of a consistent culture. So to be honest, I think the team that I joined and back in 2014, and when I left, I can see a line of culture still carries over and consistently, and I can see kind of how people helping new joiners back when I was joining still got passed around for kind of the new people and kind of mentoring and helping even kind of newer people to coming in. So align of the culture with the continuity, I think is really, really, really important. And for my previous team, I think it did so amazingly well, and that I remain really grateful to a director who actually left the company maybe 7 or 8 years ago, but that just continues. The culture is really strong. So I would say that's kind of the one thing. And the second thing is delegation is important. And the key part of delegation, I think, is clarity. So clarity comes in two parts. One is accountability. The other is ownership. So you need to make sure the ownership and accountability, they are matching really well together. So you can have someone accountable for something but doesn't have the ownership or influence to change the things. That will lead to lots of consequences and vice versa as well. And the last one, I think it's a good process and structure or good incentive mechanism. And that actually ties very well with the first point and the second point. And so because that incentive mechanism needs to be fair, needs to be good, and needs to be something that represents your culture. Because, for example, if your team that is really for optimized for growth mindset, then that incentive mechanism, that process should reflect that as well. So I would say kind of these three things that should be lying all together. But for the audience, if anyone is interested, then I think there's a really good book called Elephant Puzzle. So
Right.
it speaks about how you scale from kind of like a one team to multiple teams to multi-tier teams and to a company. I think it's an excellent book. I don't agree with every single details of it, but fundamentally, I think it's really good.
Excellent, excellent. So now we've grown from, let's say, for instance, 20 to 100. Now, how do you balance speed versus technical depth?
You mean in Google or in startup? In Google, I think context really matters.
Yeah.
So, it depending on what products you are building and what phase of it. So, if kind of is in a very fast moving market, it's a new product, then I think kind of the speed. And by the way, the speed is not the speed of shipping; it's the speed of iteration, speed of learning. So, the capabilities you touch the audiences, touch the users, and get the feedback and refine and iterating. So, I think it's kind of optimized for learning is what I want to say. So that would be the balance. And if it's kind of a mature product, then back to impact. So everything is all about impact. So for a mature product, a very simple single change could affect maybe like hundreds of millions or even billions of people. Then it needs to be really, really careful. But I think the most challenging part is not kind of either a mature product or a new product, is kind of the new product. A mature product needs to innovate itself, and it's a new product. And we are seeing a lot of it when ChatGPT 3.5 that came out, and then it was kind of Google to some extent. I think we were facing fierce competition. And then for example, search, I was within search before, and we need to go through very fast iteration and come up with new products to kind of iterate. But it also has a very, very, very large user base out there, and it's very hard to change it. So how do we do the balance out there? So without impacting the quality of the mass majority of the users, but also being able to iterate quickly on top of it. That is the most challenging part. And I think there's no kind of straightforward answer. It requires lots of management, engineering expertise, and also judgments to manage the path.
Sounds good. Tell me this, and this will be a question that obviously you can give me examples from the past and now in the future. You've hired many engineers in the past. What tells you someone is exceptional within 30 minutes? You go into a conversation with someone, and yeah, what gives you that the butterfly in the belly?
Right. It remains the same. So, I mean, Google has its own kind of the rubrics on what to hire a people, and some of it is more kind of the process fitting into it. But if I were kind of take three takeaways from it, and that actually is our hiring guideline in our startup, and that I took away. The very first one, I would say, is growth mindset. So kind of something that someone you can read from their experience and how they kind of think about the unknowns, etc. So they are really open-minded and growth mindset. So they kind of learn new things and don't shy away from like new things. I would say the second one is um, problem solving. So like really obsessed in decoupling a problem and solving a problem, and you can see kind of how they de- decompose a complexity or something into something that is addressable. And that is the same for management. That is the same for engineering. So you should be able to end up see a problem in the first principle. And I would say the last one, it's more abstract, but I call it kind of fire in the eyes. Someone that with the passion and yeah, kind of tuning as core, not comfortable in just staying as the things are, always looking out for new problems to address and always looking for learning. Yeah, so those would be my kind of three immediate takeaway.
How do you challenge strong technical personalities without ego clashes?
I think that this is so there are two types of the kind of the ego personality. So the first type, I think I just don't tolerate it. I'll call out each time and giving feedback, which is kind of more toxic type of it. So just thinking about yourself and think others are not what's collaborating with you. I think it's just toxic to the entire team because it's a teamwork. And to be honest, that human and human, they are not that different, to be honest. And the teamwork collaboration has way much capability in achieving things and way much more reliable. And as I mentioned earlier, so how you scale from like a 10 people team to 100, culture is really important. So if you have the toxic element in it, it just ruins the entire culture, ruins the entire team. So for that, I will not tolerate at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. The second type is more about kind of maybe just an ability to show themselves and or just kind of not being careful enough in expressing, or maybe just their way of expressing. It's like their personality is not, they are trying to undermine others. And for that, I think it's just take an empathy and also a careful eye to see what is the impact to the other teammates, and also being able to understand a person. And I think it's more the ongoing observation and understanding and conversations with empathy. Yeah. So I really separate these two parts because they are very different.
So you move on now, and I'm trying to sort of see how you see it from your perspective now.
Mhm.
What's the biggest difference between managing engineers and leading a company now? Wait.
That's a really good question. Well, I think the intensity is entirely different, to be honest. Um, Leading a company, especially a small company, I think for big companies, and I have my guess, and there are more social responsibilities to it, and there are kind of the cultural building, etc., etc. But for small companies, I think it's all everything about survival. So when you are playing the game of survival, lots of things will be different. So you probably wouldn't like you probably should, but you just don't have the time and the cognitive capability to, for example, manage the time you are speaking and manage kind of if I need to send out a message at 11:30 p.m. I need I need to send it out. I can't wait for tomorrow morning. So if I need to discuss something that urgently in the weekend and I have to make the call, probably I'll apologize, but I have to make the call. This is more less. This is less kind of possible in bigger companies, and which I think it's very reasonable and also makes a lot of sense. But just yeah, so that's kind of the first differences, which is the intensity is entirely different. It's a survival game, and the second one it's not just about people. So when you're managing people, it's about people and about your project scope. But when you are leading company, so when you are managing a people, actually, you don't have to be excellent in every single angle of it. Then as long you still have kind of the room to explain and justify what you are doing and why it's impactful, why it's the right way, the feedback loop is longer. But for a company, the feedback loop is very short. So if you do something good and well, and from all the different angles to line up, then it gives you a good result. So it's like going into a fighting ring explaining that I wasn't conscious enough this morning or I drank too much, I eat too much food this morning. It doesn't matter because at the end it's just win or lose. So it's as brutal as that. So yeah, so those will be kind of
Would you say, is there a skill from your engineering days that is super valuable nowadays that you use as a CEO?
excellent question. I would say definitely not those coding capabilities because we are trying to provide a product for non-technical people. So I try not to think from a programmer perspective as much as possible.
Yeah,
I would say probably kind of the way in um, decompose a complex problem and trying to kind of break it down into things that you can manage. So what is the bottleneck? What is the most important thing? What problem, what phase are we in? And what are the four different parts of this problem that we need to address? So that capability, I think it's very important. And that's why I kind of and emphasize on get trying your best to be best at something because only when you are trying to be best at something that you've got to experience that training in your mind to be able to decompose a problem and thinking outside of the box and that thing is transferable.
yeah, makes a lot of sense. If you could restart your, because earlier when I started, you mentioned things are super different nowadays, and obviously technology has evolved so much. If you could restart your career, what would you do different to what you done prior?
Mm, really good question. You mean if I were to start a career now or
Yes. Yes.
at the current timing? First of all, I wouldn't spend so many years in a big company. I think with the current AI technologies, the time is calling for one person companies or smaller companies and all kind of smaller businesses out there. But I would still start with one big company, just get to experience how it looks like and kind of build a network and also to solidify kind of some fundamental learnings out there as well. I probably will move out even like faster.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the one thing. And the second thing is that I definitely don't spend that much time learning computer science nowadays. But don't get me wrong, I think coding is a solve the problem, but software engineering is not a solve the problem. I think this on some hand one hand is the what's the time for software engineer, but on the other hand is the best time for software engineer. And so yeah, so I would say either you pick up software engineer or something else and still the same try to be the best of it. So and try to master it because by mastering something, it helps you to grow your meta capability in thinking about problems in kind of surpassing yourselves, and that part remains the same. So those would be my two takeaways if I were to start career now.
Before we wrap up, you're building in this space. Exciting times.
Yeah,
That's why I'm so surprised I was able to get you on here because you're super busy.
my pleasure.
Hey, I would love to understand what was it for? What problem is it solving?
Right.
Where can people find it? Yeah, tell me, tell us a little bit. What's going on?
Right. So my product is called superintern.ai. So basically what we are trying to do is you must be aware of like an open claw nowadays is it's really popular for everyone. But I think open claw and similar products are for engineers and for technical people. But our team's deep personal mission is that I think AI time. So the current AI technology is for everyone. And we want people from non-technical background, being able to automate their life and achieve 10x of the output and without having to learn what is an npm, what is a git, what is a curl, what is markdown, etc. And provide it in a way that is safe and that is easy to onboard, easy to use, and also it's tailored to themselves, so it's customizable to themselves. So basically, that's what we are trying to solve and what we are trying to become.
It sounds good. Sounds good. I will definitely get the link on the video. People check out Susie, unbelievable person, unbelievable engineer, and now unbelievable CEO also. One last question. Like, what separates the top 1% engineers from everyone else?
Ooh, that's an excellent question. I think it's the problem solving capability. So yeah, how much they can manage chaos and complexity, how much they can learn things that they never see before, and
Yeah,
it's even more so nowadays.
really good. Goes back to mindset, like you dropped it earlier. The right mindset, then will help them sort of see the problems differently. They'll see the problems as just something else to do instead of seeing it as a problem.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yes.
Sounds good. Look, you've given me some unbelievable gems. Thank you so much for the time. I know we've already gone over. You've got to go, so all good. But look, good luck on the venture, and yeah, everyone check out Amo AI. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Pinto, for having me.
Absolute
My
pleasure.
pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you.